Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Stories Worth Telling. Today we are live with the owner of Clarity for Your Chaos, professional organizer Lauren Chessmore. Lauren, thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this chat.
Yeah, for sure. It's been your journey for sure for me. I feel obviously I personally vested into it because I've got an opportunity to meet you before really kind of taking off and everything here. So we'll talk about that today. But I just like to kind of just dive right in here because of limited time. You're a type of person where I could spend hours talking with here. But let's just kind of get started with everything. So, who is Lauren? What is your why?
Well, my why is my family, first and foremost. I was tired of working for somebody else, trying to make my life fit around their schedule. And so the why for me is just being able to be there and spend as much time as possible with the people that I love. My mother has Alzheimer's.
Hmm.
So we don't have much time left with her. My children are young, so I don't have much time with them. I mean, I have more time than maybe if they were 15, but I I value the time that I have with people. And so that's been my biggest why for at least what I do professionally. Not only do I just love what I do, there's so many different aspects of why I love what I do, but the biggest thing is that the time. I want to be able to spend my time intentionally with the family members and friends that I might not have a ton of time with.
I love that. I think that oftentimes people don't think about maybe some of those things like their legacy until maybe it's almost too late or with limited amount of time. Um, and then also looking at it from maybe how their time is spent. You look at maybe people who, business owners, for example, they're trading more time for more money than maybe your nine to fiver or somebody working in the corporate world and stuff like that. So I love the fact that your emphasis is basically being able to utilize somebody's time. And, I think if you ask any business owner who's been doing it for a little while, they know that their time is the most important thing, and the most important value that they have. So I love the fact that that's what your emphasis and your focus is on, and it's not just maybe decluttering or just the organizing, but it encompasses so many different aspects.
Yes, well, and organizing saves you time, which most people don't realize. The less time you have to look for something, the more time you have doing what you want. The
Sure.
less time that you have, the more stuff you have, the less time you have because you have to maintain it all. Everything all the way from having a boat and all of the time it takes to take care of that boat or your car or an extra property or a storage unit, shifting through all of that stuff. It saves you time in your life having less stuff to deal with.
Absolutely. No, that makes plenty of sense. Hi, Bev. Thank you so much for tuning in. And guys, if you are watching live, go ahead and just type in hashtag live. That lets us know if you're watching real time. Also, feel free to chime in with any questions that you might have in regards to some of the information that you hear. So if you have questions for Lauren about her business or the services as you hear about them, certainly go ahead and type those in. And then we're also going to go ahead and just type in hashtag clarity. This is also going to let us know if you want to go ahead and connect directly with Lauren. She'll be able to go through and kind of respond back and get in contact with you directly. She's a great person to connect with in terms of the community, a great supporter for small and local businesses. And honestly, I've seen her basically just kind of take off here with her business. And so before I take away any of her thunder, I mean, I want you guys to hear it directly from her. Um, so, Lauren, what got you into professional organizing?
Well, if you start back from when I was a child, I was diagnosed with ADD, or what now is called ADHD. It's the same thing. They just added an extra letter. And so, and I lived in a relatively cluttered home, and I was on medication. And then when I became an adult, I started doing my own research of like how to manage this diagnosis without the aid of medication.
Hmm.
And I came across the fact that, time management is key and being able to be organized is key in order for me to be able to function like a normal person. So I kind of dived right into just learning as much as I possibly could about organizing myself, time, everything along those lines. Hey, Doug. Hey, Delilah. So in that aspect, I started it to better myself because I had such a hard time. I mean, and if you talk to anybody that has ADD, I mean, that's literally the epitome of what ADD is that you can't get organized. You can't get your space organized, you can't get your mind organized. And being able to come up with systems in order to be able to do that have been life changing for me. So go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I know that just for me, I never knew how much value you have just to help me organize my thoughts or customize my emails. Even scheduling things like maybe a break or my lunch or time to work on certain projects. So the declutter thing works in so many ways, not only in your physical space but in your mental space as well.
Right.
And as a business owner, I can't thank you enough for all of that because man, like there's days even now where like I still get overwhelmed knowing that I've set everything in the schedule because I'm like, oh man, now I have to set the deadline, I have to move stuff around. But it's a lot easier than what it used to be when it was like, what do I have to do today? Oh yeah, let me do this. And then someone comes in, shoots an email like, hey, by the way, I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I meant to message you or I'm working on it right now. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
kind of one of those things.
Like,
And
oh
so
yeah.
yeah, it's kind of one of those moments there. So Bev, I hope that answers your question in regards to what does she actually do. I mean, she helps can help you professionally organize or save room, save time. She can help with like I said, the different things for business owners that she can do. A lot of it is just kind of like I don't know. I guess maybe professional coaching slash
Yeah.
organizing.
Productivity coaching is one of the services I do offer. So if you just need help with being able to just be less stuck with the overwhelm that you have of to-do lists and brain dumping and time blocking and other little systems that we can put in place in order for you to feel more confident in how your schedule looks, what tasks you want to be able to accomplish, and then in a timely manner and without stressing yourself out or producing any more burnout.
Yeah.
So that's, and then it also will go over to my physical space or your physical space, making sure that your office is nice and clean so you can find things. You're not constantly searching through stuff. Or with realtors, a lot of times they'll utilize me to help, declutter. I work with stagers and realtors to set people up for success when it comes to selling their homes. Or on the flip side, when you bought a home, where to put all the stuff that you have in this new space.
Yeah, no, that's it's there's so much more, and I didn't know this. When we initially met and you talked about it, I was like, oh, that's really cool. I think there's a need for that, and then to check in like a couple months later, and as I'm getting help from her, like with some of the stuff, to realize like, holy cow, there's so much stuff that and so many needs and so many different things, and for you to basically realize and adjust to that so quickly, it definitely helps. Big shout out to Denise. Thank you so much for tuning in live. And looks like we got a question here from Delilah. It says, I am a busy, busy, busy single mama. I always end up with mom guilt or job guilt because there's just too much going on. Love that there are people like Lauren out there to help women like me.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I love that. So go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, I wanted you to kind of address this for maybe other moms who maybe feel the same way.
Well, first of all, the mom guilt is real. I have two children. I have a 3-year-old, almost 4, and an 8-year-old. And it doesn't matter, I feel like, what you do, you still feel guilty for doing something, anything. I mean, you could have a bad day and a meltdown your own self and then be like, oh, I shouldn't have felt that way. But you know what? The overwhelm that we have in our life is there. And when we ask for help from people, I don't know how to hang a door. I do not know how to hang a door. If I had to hang a door, I would literally stare at that door and be like, I don't know. I don't know how to do this. So then I would reach out typically to my husband because he knows how to hang a door, and he would come and he would hang the door for me because he knows. He would look at it and be like, "Oh yeah, we got to do this and this." I'd be like, "Uh-huh. What? It's bulky. I don't what? I'm going to need some help." And the same goes for us as moms. They always say it takes a village, and it does. And if the overwhelm is too much for you in a certain space, that's where I can come in. It's completely non-judgmental, and I can help reset to a place that you can feel comfortable and confident to take that on. And then also there's systems in place with my packages. Part of some of the packages, like there's times where I come back for maintenance, or you get phone support with me for 30 or 60 days depending on the package. So if we create these systems and you run into an issue with them, you can call me and I can walk you through, like, okay, well, maybe that didn't work for you, and that's okay because I set these things up specifically for each and every person. So let's try this. And it's just as simple as, like, the mom that likes to get ready in front of the mirror, that the big mirror in her room and not at the vanity. Okay, well, let's set you up like a little vanity kind of a deal with pull-out drawers in front of that, because that's what works for you. And when you have somebody that's willing to custom create these systems for you and your family and your life, able to really get less overwhelmed. And then that mom guilt starts to kind of almost, I wouldn't say melt away, because it's always kind of there in the back of your head, but it's not the forefront, because you've at least created something that helps you keep on track and takes care of that. The mom guilt will probably come from somewhere else, but then that's where we work on our mindset to try and say, no, I'm a good mom. I'm doing the best I can, and these kids are well taken care of and they're well loved.
Yeah, sorry, guys. I got DC'd for a quick second here, but I had no problems that Lauren would be able to handle it if that did happen. But no, I love that the whole idea of and you know this of me from day one. It's the whole collaboration over competition environment.
Yeah.
The same way that we treat our business, the same way that we treat our families, and the way that we interact with people and support one another and stuff like that. So I love the fact that that's been your approach, but how you can take that and again, maybe somebody else's is, maybe their focus is maybe on growth, right? And to be able to customize that, or somebody else's focus is on maybe a different direction, but you can still utilize the skills of what you have and kind of customize that for somebody else. And I think Delilah also hit the nail on the head. She says, I love how custom this is. So let's see. Bev says, so my messy, unorganized desk, you can help set up files and such. What about boxes of stuff and base from when we moved into our home a year ago? Like, seriously, I'm ready to throw a match on all the papers. Absolutely, Bev. Yeah, I mean, this is really her specialty. And honestly, like, I know that there's other people that do organizing. I know that there's people that do maybe some of the clutter of the mind and the mind coaching. I don't know anybody that does it all together so well, and has the ability to where she can focus on one thing and then turn around and customize it to fit the next plan and model. And so we'll definitely kind of cover some of those things at some of these additional questions here. But yeah, I mean, again, if you guys want to connect, if you want Lauren to reach out to you, type in #clarity, and she'll definitely reach out to you guys and be able to kind of just go through a one-on-one scenario, to take a look at those custom things in regards to what you need, what she can help with.
It would be my pleasure.
Self-affirmation, yes.
And I think that that's also the biggest part of my why. Oh, this is my cat, Ezra, by the way. Hashtag still at home. The biggest part of my why, too, and the thing that I love the most and is most gratifying, is that moment when the clients and I get done and they look at the space and I can physically see the stress just released. Like, they're no longer stressed out about this place that they now, which typically it's their home or their business that they spend a lot of time in. They're no longer stressed out. And then, like, joy, it's like immediate release of stress, and then joy lights their eyes. And it is the most fulfilling thing I've ever gotten the pleasure of being able to do every day for other people in my life. I mean, I'm definitely a helper. If you ever get sick, I bring you matzo ball soup, or elderberry syrup. And that's always just kind of been the person that I am. So
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, guys. My kid was interrupting here. That's the COVID life right now. We all
COVID
go through
life.
it.
Cats and kids.
Yes.
Cats and kids.
Beverly, she typed in #clarity. Please help me. I kept the box because it's a good box. I think we all go through that. I mean, that's real.
Yes, that
Um,
is.
I think, geez. So Sharon and I have a box that we keep together from like all of memories from all the dates that we've gone through, whether it's a movie or ticket stub, and maybe it's a picture, or it's a receipt, maybe from a first time we went to a certain restaurant, whatever it is, all these different things, and we keep these different boxes. The problem is that we rarely go back and look at it, and then when we do, it kind of has those things. And so, you know, recently I think I was reading about, like, when you're cleaning out some of that stuff, that's a great opportunity to maybe come back and do something with that. Like, instead of just leaving those memories in the boxes, can you do something and create maybe an album, or a scrapbook, or can you make a display, what I mean, that kind of showcases some of that stuff, and it's something that you can do together. So what is your thoughts, or I mean, how does your approach to teaching some of these things to your clients, maybe when it's hard with other members of the family? I know obviously one person can start that and stuff like that, but how do you integrate that family environment?
So what I always recommend to people is that we're going to take time for training over and over and over again.
Thank you, Delilah.
And then the best way for me to put this is, it's just the simple silverware stuff. Where do you put your forks?
In the fork drawer, or in the with the silverware, right?
Right, because there's a place for them, right?
Correct.
So at first, when we have a space, we're going to label everything. My cat is really wanting, she is all about it. She's like, yes. So the first thing that we do is that we just discuss with everybody and just ask them to just, if we got labels on stuff, now we know where everything goes. Put it back where it belongs. And we're not going to do it right away. Everybody isn't going to do it. It's just take time for training. So like with kids, I always recommend it's something as simple as, I see a sock in the refrigerator, an actual conversation I've had with a client.
Oh, wow.
Like, you just open the refrigerator and you're like, oh, kids, I see a sock in the refrigerator. And usually that's all you have to say. And then they're like, oh, socks don't belong in the refrigerator. And then they take the sock out of the refrigerator, right? And then they go put it all the way away. We also implement Clarity Cat. Love it. But so implementing small things like that, even children that can't read the labels, we work on small systems with them. Print a picture of the Legos and put that on the basket. And when it comes to kid stuff, I always like to do something as simple as, we're going to start small. So we're going to do toy buckets. We're not going to organize them based on what kind of toy, because they are not going to put them back. We need to have also realistic expectations of children.
Right.
They're not going to put things back exactly where you would put them as an adult. But if we give them the confidence that they can put stuff back in a bucket and then praise them for that, we're filling their power buckets. I can do this, I can clean up, I can take care of this room, these are my toys that I need to take care of.
Brilliant, Doug. Brilliant.
So there's different things that we can do.
Definitely. I love that. I love the fact that that's a priority, is to teach not just the individual, but the entire family. I think
Right.
It brings that closeness. It teaches kids responsibility, which a lot of times maybe the parents maybe struggle with, because they're just used to doing it all, and they don't realize that maybe implementing some of these things for their kids can definitely help.
Yeah.
So again, Bev here is saying that all 4 kids are grown up after 30 years of marriage. Why do I have boxes of their high school stuff?
Maybe we could send it to them. Mazel tov. You now get memories to go through.
And
That's what my parents did. One day my dad just called me up and he was like, I got some stuff to drop off. And I was like, okay, cool. And then tote after tote after tote after tote was in my garage. And I'm like, what just happened? But it's my stuff.
Sure.
And now I get to go through it and I get to choose what I'm keeping and what I'm not, what's important to me and what isn't. And then I think I got it down to like 1 tote, and that tote I just have labeled down in my basement. And I think I have it labeled like memory lane for me, like Lauren's memory lane, because I like to have fun with labels sometimes. And then I can revisit it. Or if I want to show my kids something, or like I have my kids' artwork, we hang it. There's all kinds of different options when it comes to all this stuff, creating scrapbooks. things like that. Yes, that's where you're at now, is that you just have all this stuff. There's no reason you can't just tell your kids to come get it.
Yeah, no, I think that's incredible. And again, I mean, what benefit does it have of you holding on to it? You know, I mean, yeah, there's some things that you can maybe pull up for the memories personally, but overall, I mean, it's your kid stuff. I remember my dad kind of doing the same thing. He's like, "Hey, what do you want me to do with your crap?
Yep.
You know, you can come get it, or I'm going to trash it." So
Yep.
of course, I'm like, "Well, let me come look at it first." You know, I don't know what's down there. So yeah, I mean, definitely, it kind of maybe you have to take some of that action. Um, so guys, I see that we've got a lot more maybe viewers than we had previously. So again, we're live with Lauren Chessmore, aka the Marie Kondo of Colorado Springs, owner of Clarity for Your Chaos. And again, tell me, because of comments like Bev's, you know, I feel lost with all of this stuff, or I feel overwhelmed. I'm sure that you hear that often.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I always like to tell people is that I'm the solution to that stuck that you feel. When you look at a project and you just like glaze over with overwhelm, that's where I come in, because you have an emotional attachment to whatever the space is. It's your space first and foremost, it's your stuff first and foremost. I come in and I'm able to just break it down internally and create a system for us to be able to knock it out fast. And in every step of the way, unless you give me, like, no holds bar, and I just take care of the space, I don't care what you do with everything in it, which typically isn't always the case, but even when it is, I typically do piles where I'm like, I feel like this is something you might want to keep.
Mm.
um you're going to go through things, and there's going to be things that will seem absolutely ridiculous. Case in point, I would like to show you this back pillow. This back pillow seems like something most people would not want. It is the only thing that I have of my late uncle, and I will hold on to it for the rest of my life.
Hmm. Interesting. I like that.
And if it's something that you love and you care about and you can use, like I do in this chair with my back pillow, then keep it. If it's stuff that you don't want to use and it's stuff that's just laying there, okay, who can we bless? Who can we bless with that stuff?
Hmm. Love that. Man, the chat has been so crazy today, which is good. I mean, I'd love to see the interaction, and I knew that this was a need for a lot of people to basically hear about your business. So thank you guys for that. Um,
Thank
it,
you.
yeah, exactly, Bev. You use the back pillow for so some again, maybe some of those things that are maybe less practical. Again, there's so many different things, you know, Lauren showcase, you know, maybe some of your kids' old artwork, you know, if that's sitting in your piles, maybe you can hang it up, or maybe you can display, maybe you can make a quick collage of something of just your kids when they were younger, so you can have a small piece of everything, but not necessarily have to hold on to everything. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
And then there's also the option too that I always like to tell people, especially like with big stuff. We live in a digital world now. So with my kids specifically, when he brings home that gigantic like diorama of Native Americans and the Pilgrims or whatever he's making this year, and it's like a huge shoebox, I let him display it for a month. We'll put it out for a month. And then, unless he can find a spot for it, we take pictures of it. And now I've saved it forever, and it goes into a file that actually, when I've started an email address that he doesn't know about,
Hmm.
and I send pictures to that email, or I send like letters or memes or just things. So that way, when he graduates, I'm going to give him the email address, and other family members can send letters and things like that to it, emails, letters. And so I can send him all of that. He can keep it all in the cloud, and he can look through it at any time that he wants to as an adult and reminisce without it taking up a whole lot of space.
Absolutely. Yep. We have the same thing for Maddox, and it's amazing because we write down a lot of the quotes or the things that he says or the things that he's into.
Mm-hmm.
And then we tack him on with some of the pictures or some of the videos that we're recording and send it directly there. So at one point he can just go back and he never has to wonder, you know, what memories or question, you know, or maybe he forgets. I mean, life happens and he just gets so busy. So I love the fact that that's that you're doing that with your kids as well, and kind of gives me some ideas for some more other things that we can be doing with that too. So,
Yeah.
um, so this is huge, and I'm so thankful that I was one of the first few that you were able to kind of share this with, because it's such a momentous place to be as a business owner. So for those of you who don't know, when I first met Lauren, this was probably when she was kind of starting her business. Probably I would say probably planning, kind of dipping her toes in.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and gosh, it was 3 months where she
Yeah.
basically could springboard dive full in, and basically was
Yeah.
able to go ahead and fire her boss. So it's such a short turnaround time on that, but it's so amazing, just in that short time to do that. So, for people who are on the cusp, again, this whole series was created to be able to support small and local businesses, but we also want to encourage those who maybe they're struggling, especially right now with the COVID stuff. So walk us through in terms of how did you go from that decision? What was the experience like? Maybe talk about maybe some of the fears, even and the emotions that go through that, because it's very difficult for a lot of times, maybe people who have been doing business for a long time to maybe remember that. And then also people who have never started a business and are thinking, maybe they think it's maybe impossible. So, with you having recently kind of gone through all of that, walk us through that.
So for me, I was already working pretty much full time. It was Monday through Thursday, like 7:30 to 5, and then half a days on Fridays. So I was working a full-time job as it was. And then I was doing these clients on the weekends. So like I was not getting any time. Some documents from the paper on the computer. You put old, yes, you can. You can scan them and you can save them as well. Ah, see, it was divine intervention, Beverly. Yes. I do. I do like watching Hoarders.
That's a great
I
question.
mostly like watching Hoarders just so that way my family has a better understanding of why I'm tired. It's
Makes
never
sense.
that bad, but I'll take the foot rub. So, I forgot where I was at. I
Oh,
apologize for
no,
getting
no. Just talking,
myself
walking
off.
about your experience of how you got to the point of being
So,
able to fire your boss.
yeah, so I was like working the first 3 months. I was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. My cat, oh my gosh, Ezra. Um, and I was burnt out. Like I barely got to see my kids. I would like literally get off of work, go do consultations at night, come home, eat a cold dinner, put my kids to bed, wake up in the morning, do the same thing, do my jobs over the weekend on Saturdays and Sundays. And I was tired and I was irritable and my relationship with my husband wasn't great. And I barely got to see my kids, which hashtag mom guilt times like 1,000.
Mm.
And we sat down and we looked at our budget, and we don't have a lot of debt. So we kind of been working the Dave Ramsey plan on purpose for this specific reason. And we said to ourselves, I don't need to work full time anymore. I don't need to. If I no longer have to pay somebody to take my kids to school and I only have to put my kid in childcare part-time versus full-time, and I'm able to like actually drop my kid off in the morning and pick him up from school, like not only is that just fulfilling to me, then let's sit down and look at this, okay? And at that time my boss was saying that she was just overwhelmed. She's like, there's too many balls in the air. And I had talked to her. This is something I talk about in my productivity coaching. So I actually kind of coached her a little bit as well. And I said, well, you need to sit down and you need to figure out which balls are lead, which balls are rubber, and which balls are glass. Your health, your family, those are glass balls. You can't ever let those drop. You know, your business, every once in a while, certain things, social media, every once in a while, that can drop. But overall, your business is a glass ball, but it doesn't have to take over. And it actually, like coaching her through that, I realized that I need to assess my own balls in the air. Like I'm getting burnt out. And not because I love what I was doing on the weekends. And then I'd come into work and I was like, almost angry or upset because I couldn't be doing what I want to be doing.
Sure.
And then that doesn't put me in a good mood to be around anybody. So, like, literally a week later, after my husband and I sat down, we were like, okay, we figured out BAM. I don't know if anybody's familiar with what that means, but it's bare ass minimum. What my BAM was,
Love it.
my absolute minimum I needed to be able to do. And that seemed completely feasible because I was doing that on the weekends as it was. So I actually had put in my notice, but they were moving their office at the time. So I offered to stay until they were able to hire a new employee. I was willing to create onboarding manuals, help them move the office, train a new employee. So it wasn't a 2-week notice by any means. It was like a couple months notice because I did not want to leave them high and dry right before a move, and especially when that's what I do. Like I can move people and pack and all that stuff. So, and then COVID hit. So now I do this full time. Is that 2 weeks at like a week in once they and it was a dental office. So once they closed dental offices, she was like, just don't. There's no need for you to come back. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I think it's incredible though that as part of your journey, as part of your leaving, so to speak, that you're able to turn around and basically just utilize your skills and basically showcase why you don't belong there, why you had to leave.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's kind of the results are kind of showcase themselves much later, but you had the ability to kind of showcase that right then and there.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact that you always have the best stories, when it comes to kind of like and that's a lost art in itself. I personally believe is a kind of a good storyteller. You think of kind of going back to that tribe vibe, right? They probably always had kind of the elders telling the stories to the kids and whatnot and stuff like that. So I think that these are really great things that you're going to be able to pass on to new entrepreneurs and more people that you meet and things like that. And so, I hope that you remember that as you kind of go through and your business journey and stuff like that. I think that you're a fantastic storyteller, and I definitely see you helping out people in different realms, whether they're CEOs or owners of businesses, and things like that. So.
Well, and the one thing I can tell you is that I thought I had it all set up. I was like, okay, it's going to be like 6 to 8 weeks. I'm going to really be able to, plan everything out. And it's going to be like, I'm going to just, right. And then pandemic. So the only thing that I can tell you is that nobody's ever prepared. Nobody's ever 100% prepared. Nobody's ever in a position that they're not scared. And if you aren't scared, you're not doing it right.
Hmm.
You're just
Absolutely.
not. Like there has to be some fear, because if there isn't any fear, you don't value it.
True. No, I agree. One of the first things that my employee had asked, he's like, I'm really scared in terms of I want to make something better. When I was asking him his goals, I was like, what are your goals? What are you looking for? And in his thought process or in his mind, he kind of saw the results of everything that I've been doing. And so his response was, well, teach me how to be you. And I kind of laughed, right? Because it's like, I would never wish that on anybody. Um, but at the same time, like it felt really nice to know that somebody kind of sees the value of what you're doing and that they can get on board with it. But um, being able to take again those things and again, I don't know if this guy was going to pan out. I didn't know if I was going to be a good boss and that we would be thriving through a pandemic and stuff like that. So you're right. I mean, you just never know. No matter what you go through, you just never know what life is gonna throw at you. So speaking of kind of the curveballs with COVID and stuff like that, how have you been able to adjust your business to be able to move and shift to online?
Well, I do offer virtual organization packages, but for the most part, now that everything's kind of opened back up, most of the people that choose to use me for virtual, they're out of state. So
Mm,
it's difficult for me to get to them, and or they're do-it-yourselfers. So what I say about that is that they're kind of self-motivated. They just need like a plan, and they just need maybe a little bit of accountability, and then like how to put the systems into place. But they're the people that watch, the home renos and refinish cabinets and do the landscaping themselves and stuff like that. So um, after everything kind of is opened back up, I'm back to being into houses, working with realtors, helping out with people moving, unpacking, or just life transitions in general. So, but it's been nice to be able to just kind of pivot during this time. I mean, I had to pivot. There was no other option really for me to be able to do. I can't go into people's homes when everything's closed down.
Sure, sure. Okay. And I think we've talked about some of the questions that we had, in regards to who your ideal client base is. We talked about that already. So let's go a little bit forward here is, for you personally, somebody who's a planner, and somebody who maybe plans almost professionally as well. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh man, in the next 5 to 10 years, I want to have a business with at least 2 to 3 employees. So that way we would be able to service the Colorado Springs and Denver, Woodland Park area. I've always wanted to be a business owner, but mostly I've always wanted to have employees. I've worked for some pretty amazing people, both positively and negatively. And I've always wanted to be able to be that boss that isn't just a boss, that genuinely cares about supporting employees and watching people rise and bloom. So that's where I see my business in the next 5 to 10 years for sure, is having a couple of employees that we would be able to really get in and keep them at my standards as well of, this isn't just about the stuff. There's a huge emotional connection to the things that you have, and that we're here to take care of not only the space but the mind as well.
I love
So that's the ultimate goal. And maybe, like, I don't know, eventually get big enough that the company earns like $2 million a year, and I can really I could take my employees like on awesome vacations once a year where they get to choose what they want to do, and it's all inclusive because I truly and genuinely appreciate what they do for me and what they do for my clients. Mostly so I can just show my gratitude to them, because I think employees deserve to be appreciated.
Definitely. No, I love that. And I love the fact that you're forward thinking in terms of it's not just money. It's not just being able to do all these things. It's not just the excellence that you want to continue, but it's how you want to take care of people,
Yeah.
um, and how you want to be memorable as a great boss. So I think that you answered kind of a lot of these questions here from Beverly in terms of why should I hire you? What makes you stand out? Because she had just said, I really like what you're saying. I do want to give you the opportunity to answer this one here, but if you don't mind, can I take a crack at it first before you get to?
Sure.
Okay. So why you should hire Lauren Chessmore? One, you know what you're getting. You guys are seeing it live right here. Who she is here on live is the same person that she is in real life. Um, she has a heart of gold. She has a heart for people. And ultimately, she is really going to get you on track to where you are. One of the first things that we talked about was basically is um, I didn't know that I wanted to do this at the time, but it was the opportunity of my friend Aaron basically mentioning that I should be writing a book in regards to transitioning from the corporate world into the business world and putting everybody on even playing levels. I had no idea what that meant when he told me, but when I look back and I look at all the people that I've associated with over the past 7 to 8 months, it's really all small, true local and small business owners, and how much growth have they had, how much interaction have I had with them to help them grow, and all these different things, and really changing some of the trends here within the insurance industry. So I didn't know what he meant at the time, but after meeting with kind of Lauren and just basically putting out some of the thoughts and ideas, she immediately went to, well, these are some of the things that I think that you could benefit from. And it wasn't just like you need to make time for it. It was, if you're unsure, maybe you just need to really kind of get those thoughts out there. Maybe you need to try some of these things. Maybe you need to have that conversation with your spouse and your children, so that way they can get on board, so that way they understand that when you are focusing on that time. So it's all very all encompassing to know. And then never once did she like raise her eyebrows at any of the thoughts or ideas that I've ever had. I think that she understands that people are going to try and do different things, and that you just have to kind of roll with the punches because you never know. Some maybe it pans out, maybe it doesn't, but you never know if you don't try for yourself. And what I love is that I could come to her and I could bring these ideas. I could basically be honest as a business owner and say, you know what, this is how I think, and this is how a lot of this stuff, and I thought it was working pretty well for me, right? And my this is my line of thinking, and is in my opinion, is very much different from everyone else. And she agreed. She's like, yeah, she goes, that is different. She goes, but that's what makes you you. So all we need to do is just kind of dial back on or focus in terms of doing these things and introduce these new habits. And it was just a couple of simple fixes like that that basically allowed me to get a little bit more organized. And obviously, it's yielding results because even yesterday, right, or when we were setting this up, and I was kind of reaching out to her, she was like, "Wow, I'm really impressed with how organized you had everything with kind of getting everything set up." So that's my take as to why you should hire Lauren. But again, I don't want to put words in Lauren's mouth. That's just why I think you should hire Lauren. But what about you, Lauren?
I think that the reason that most people hire me is because I genuinely care about you and your space and creating it specifically for you. Going back to even, like I said, the client that likes to do the makeup on the floor in front of her mirror and creating a space for her to do it there. One size fits all does not fit all. It's not real because each individual person has each individual ideas, motivations, habits, family members. And my biggest thing is to be able to make it work for you. So I could create a plan across the board and only 30% of the people would follow it, but that doesn't help the other 70% of the people. So I want to make sure that the follow through is there, that not only am I just here to help you organize your silverware drawer, but that by interacting with me, you can come up with some other ideas on how to organize your life little by little by little through the training that we do together and the coaching. Because part of the organizing is me talking with you for hours, like as we're working on stuff. So bouncing ideas, coaching, productivity, whatever we need to talk to, even if it's emotional stuff about the things that you have. I always have a non-disclosure clause in all of my liability agreements that unless specific things that I'm like, that's really cool, it's a bear tongue, or like, I've never seen something like that before. Do you mind if I take a picture of it? Other than that, I don't display other than like before and after pictures. I don't talk about what you have or things of that nature because it's none of anybody else's business. So I think the top priority would be for me would be your how comfortable you are with me, knowing that this is a customized plan based on what you need and that your items and your life, because I'm going through your life, is confidential. Nobody else needs to know the information that's in your life. I think I've only been turned down by one person, and that was an FBI agent because legally he cannot have me working in his house.
Mm, man, yeah. So Bev basically says, "OMG, I need you in my life. Privacy, absolutely."
Yes, absolutely.
And I never would have thought of the need for an NDA for something like that, but it makes perfect sense. I mean, um, man, it just kind of blew my mind right now. It's just like, wow, I never would have thought that something like that would have been such a huge prevalent need for your business, but it makes complete sense. So I
Yep.
love that. Um, can you tell us
I would. Oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, can you tell us maybe a favorite experience, or memorable experience that you've had so far with business?
I think so far, memorably, one of the best experiences was when I worked with a photographer here in town. She does vintage boudoir photography, and she was getting her space back up and running. And it had just kind of it was like a dump zone for a while, and she was getting back into the photography again. And one, she had so many cool pieces. I love like the 1940s, 1950s, like style in itself.
Yeah.
But not so like not only did she have so many cool pieces that I was like, we need to showcase this. But the best part was at the end, like I told her, I was like, this is probably going to take about 15 hours. And she at the end was like, I honestly did not think that we would get even half of this done in 15 hours, let alone get everything done in 14.
Hmm.
I I'm astounded And that was the best compliment I've ever had. I think almost ever. Just like, again, you can just feel that weight of stress. Like now she can just start taking photos. Like it took us 2 days of work and now she can just start taking photos. Like now she can start making money. Now she can do the thing that she really loves to do. And you can see some awesome things come out of that. Or like the family that's downsizing and they're going to a new house and the husband isn't there and he comes at the end and he's like, I can't believe that you got this entire basement done. You're a godsend. If you weren't married, I'd marry you and take you with us. And I'm just like, when people say things like that to me, I think that fills me up because I am here to help you. And if you're happy at the end of our session and you feel less weight on your shoulders, then I've done everything that I want to do because that fills me up. It fills my cup. That's the biggest why, most of all, is I'm a helper. I don't know if you're familiar with the Enneagram numbers at all, but I'm a number 2 and I am the epitome of a helper personality. So
Well, yeah, I think that's very evident in everything that you do. But yeah, no, that's incredible. And you know, what's crazy is that as a business owner, it's so important for us to kind of solicit feedback to make sure that we're doing things. One of the things that I learned really early in the business world is that feedback is a gift, regardless of what they say or how they said it. They are sometimes more willing to give it to you than maybe other times when but it's so important, and when you get that unsolicited, right, and they're just completely satisfied and happy with who you are and what you've done without you even having to even go there, and it's you realize that you've actually made a difference, that you've made a change. That's the most rewarding piece in any business. So yeah, I mean, I think I have no doubts, in terms of how you take care of your clients, just because in the interactions that we've had, I know how well you've helped me with my business and the way that I pursue things and the small implementations. So again, thank you. I can't tell you thank you enough for not only that, but also just, your friendship. I mean, it definitely has been one of the highlights for me with as part of my business journey. So.
Oh, 100% agreed. Like I said, I kind of took you on as my mentor, and you were like, "Oh, I kind of took you out as my protege," and I was like, "Oh, that works perfectly."
Yeah, yeah. And I think that oftentimes what you'll find is that it's really that's usually how it happens. Anybody that's kind of asking to be taken on as a mentor, or somebody asking to be your protege, is usually not usually a good fit, because it's usually because they want something that you have, whereas when it kind of naturally occurs, you both have a mutual vested interest. So.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly.
what are some of your greatest influences in terms of what you do, maybe how you got to this point, things like that, and again, that maybe some of it has nothing to do with particular people, maybe it has something to do with maybe certain instances, or I mean whatever it is. I mean, just what is it that um, got you to this point where you're like, what, that's a legit business, that's something that I know I could thrive in, that's so me. Well, what were some of those elements that led up to that?
So one of the elements I think, other than me dealing with my ADD, was I actually was homeless at some point in my life. I lived in a tent where the Costco is on Nevada before the Costco was there. And if anybody in the Springs has been here long enough, it was not a good area at all.
Right.
So one of the things that also I think ends up being a why for me and why I use the tagline, who you can bless, is because I know what it's like to have literally a backpack and nothing else. And I know what it's like to get some clothes or to have somebody reach out and help you get an apartment and buy you stuff from the dollar store to set up silverware, dishes, or donations. And I know what that's like. And when we have too much, we're able to bless more people and set them up. So I think that experience in my life has created an exorbitant amount of gratitude. Like even just talking about it, I get a little verklempt, just thinking about my life in general. But going even to like more than a meal, which they, every Saturday in a parking lot help the homeless with clothing and bicycles and a meal and just help in general of stuff that you don't want anymore. I'll take it down there because they need it. They do. And whether or not you agree with the homeless population or not, it's always going to be something that's there. And there are always going to be a ton of options for us to be able to work with that. There's different volunteer organizations. There's things like the Hanger, when it comes to like teenage clothes or preteen clothes, anything that you want to get rid of, donate it to the Hanger. And that goes to foster children, especially luggage. Those poor kids don't even have bags. All their stuff is in garbage bags. How degrading, you know? So I think that being able to implement my volunteerism and getting a little whiffy, I apologize.
No,
Oh my
no,
gosh.
you don't have to apologize. I mean, we're seeing your heart right now, and it's amazing. And this is
Talk
why
amongst
I'm.
yourself. I'll
I
give you
mean,
a topic.
but this is why we do this. I mean, people need to know that they have a heartbeat in this community, and that there are people who
Yes.
want to help, and people who understand that, you know, uh, this is our backyard right here in Colorado Springs. So when you go to support people like Lauren, you know where her heart is and you know what she wants to do. So when she's in abundance, she knows that she's going to be blessing it and giving it back to somebody else. This is exactly why we do this right here, is because some of these opportunities and some of these stories may not get shared, or you may not know. And
Yeah.
so, again, you don't have to apologize for doing wonderful things.
Thank you. So
Um,
that would be one of the biggest influences, that I'm able to actively help the community on a regular basis and be able to bring donations to people who are in need, trying to meet. I mean, it's been more difficult with the COVID because a lot of things are shut down right now.
mm,
And especially like taking donations. So a lot of it's going to Goodwill and stuff like that. But wherever I can find a need, I try and fill that need. However, which is, even on my liability forms and my intake forms, I ask, like, are there particular charities you want stuff taken to?
I like that.
Because it's also dependent, it's your stuff. So who do you want to bless? Is there a church that you want to bring it to for a garage sale? Or do you have a special place for veterans? Or like, where in your heart do you want to overflow from yourself? And I think that's been one of the biggest influences of this. That, and I grew up, my, like, if I was going to talk about people that are influential, my father, who is a retired general, he is definitely one of the biggest influences in my life as well. Just his everything, just how he holds himself to a higher standard. Clearly, as a general, he served for 42 years, and that, with that, it really brings me to the military community, because even though I'm a native, even though I'm born and raised in Colorado, I'm still an Air Force brat, if you will. I just moved from Barnes and Powers to Rock Rimmon when I was 2. He had a permanent position, but I'm still very close to the military community here, and wanting to be able to help them as much as I possibly can as well, because again, that was an influential part in my life, is being in part of the military while my father was serving.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I love the fact that you've been able to incorporate your two passions together, right?
Yeah.
Because not many businesses are in a position where they can turn around and say, who do you want to support with what you have, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not like I can go to a client and say, hey, would you be wanting to take your savings and apply it to a stuff, right? Because no, I mean, most of the people, when they're calling for insurance, is they're trying to find ways to save so that way they can try to get a little bit of a head or pay off some bills and stuff like that. So I love the fact that you're able to utilize their existing stuff and still make a difference, and that you've incorporated that as part of your standards. And it's incredible, honestly, and not many businesses or people have that position to be able to do that. Which brings me to another point, guys. If you have, or if you know places that are in abundance and maybe it's not going anywhere, I know that Lauren has volunteered to take on those things because she might be able to use them to be able to, with maybe future jobs or maybe other people who are in need and stuff like that. So if you know of people who maybe have an abundance of things that they don't need or maybe they're looking to get rid of, you can reach out to Lauren. You can tag her. I know I've done that, and if she has a need for it, she'll schedule and coordinate to be able to come pick it up. If it's not a need, then she'll just say, "Hey, you know what? I don't need this at this time." Um, but I know that that has been really great for her to be able to turn around and again give that back to somebody else and bless somebody else. So
Yeah,
Bev, I know this to be true. I've given so much to people and helped them, and now I need help. So yeah, I mean, you're an incredible soul for sure. I know that you've
yeah,
gone above and beyond for many people. So yeah, I know that you and Lauren would definitely like to connect here. And let's just
definitely.
address this one here before we get to the last question. So you can take a look at a project and know that you can accomplish the task in set amount of time. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I don't know. I don't know how to tell you more about it other than it's my brain and it's how it works. And I don't know how I'm able to deconstruct things because I talk to other people or even like sometimes I've mostly my sister, she tells me that she's like, Lauren, your brain works different than other people. You need to recognize that. And then I'll be like to my husband, how long is this going to take? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, how do you not know?
Hmm.
Oh, because my brain works different than other people's. I don't know why or how, or maybe I've just like, I literally look at it and I just do it all in my brain at like a high speed video. And I just break it down as to where we're going to start, what we're going to do, and how we're going to knock it out. And then at the end, I'm able to, say, okay, well, there's a lot of boxes of paper that's going to take a lot longer,
Hmm.
as opposed to like a closet full of trash that we're going to be throwing away. So I'm able to just kind of also trial and error after doing so much for so many people. And then also understanding the client, some clients that are moving are going to be more apt to get rid of more than clients that are just wanting to take care of a space. Does that make sense? There's going to be less purging versus that. So I just take into account all of the different factors and I'm able to sit down and just kind of give a ballpark of hours. Most of the stuff that I have is packaging. So you get like up to certain amount of hours. And then even if I come in short on those hours, I'll say, is there something else you want me to take care of for the next couple of hours? Or, what would you like to do? I could set it up for like a maintenance call later or something along those lines. But typically, I'm usually pretty spot on if I'm not even just, I always like to over so that way I'm not at the hourly rate what you thought you were going to pay me, and now all of a sudden I'm like, this is going to take some more time. So I just break it down one step at a time in my head. And that's how I'm able to figure out how long it's going to take. I don't know how else to explain it.
It's kind of like the good doctor, right? When he's like processing everything and seeing everything,
Yes.
or what's the other one? Sherlock Holmes, when he's
Yes.
like seeing everything in kind of real time, just in a quick analysis. And so she's like, it's all running through her head, and she's like, it's gonna take 15 hours.
Yeah, I don't know how I do it. I just do it. But thank God for my sister who she holds me accountable and she's like, Lauren, we had you tested as a kid. Like
Funny. Well, I hope that answers questions for a lot of you guys in the chat. And again, we always get an influx of questions afterward. I always get messages like, "Who was that was on your thing again?" I'm like, if you watch it or if you click on the title, it's literally right there, and I tag them, and they're responding. So, again, I mean, I don't mind you guys reaching out, but definitely, I mean, I think you guys got to see the full range of Lauren Chessmore today, which is it's awesome, right? Because you see, she's just the way that she thinks, the way that she operates, who she wants to help, how she wants to help, all those things. So, final question. It's a question that we kind of has become staple as part of this channel here. If there were no limitations, whether that be time or money or COVID or let's even throw in kids. I mean, just whatever it is, right? If you didn't have any limitations at all whatsoever, what would life look like for Lauren Chessmore?
this is gonna sound crazy, but my life is my life without limitations. I mean, when you have nothing, it's it's pretty easy to have very to be limitless and to build upon that. I think that I'm building the life that I want little by little. I mean, if there were no limitations, I would be all the way at the end game. But right now, I really want to enjoy this journey of building this business. It's just like, when your kid's throwing a temper tantrum, you're like, oh my God, I can't wait till he's 18, right? But really, you want to be able to enjoy those terrible twos and the threes and the fours and the fives and all the little milestones that come along with it. So it may be as cheesy as it sounds, but overall, I feel like I am limitless. And you are too. Everybody's limitless. Money's just a construct. You build it, spend it, save it.
I love the fact that your the humility is still there, and I love the fact that you don't take life for granted, right?
No.
And the fact that I mean, does it ever like do you ever wake up some days, walk around your house, and just be like, this is so crazy, you know? Like I was at one point living on the streets to now where you are hoping to build a business that nets millions of dollars. You know what I mean? Like, is there ever a moment of time or a moment of clarity, pun intended,
Yeah.
where you're just sitting there and it's so surreal?
Yeah, a lot. It's been a tough couple of days, but coming back to that gratitude practice, I think, and we all have it. We all have ebbs and waves, but there's times where I literally wake up and I just like cry because of how grateful I am. I've got a roof over my head. My, I have extra income if I wanted to go get my nails done. I mean, like things like that that just I think also like the other day somebody posted like, what would you tell your 21-year-old self? Well,
Mm,
my 21-year-old self was recently no longer homeless, 100 pounds heavier, and miserable. And if I could go back and talk to my 21-year-old self, I would tell her, keep going. You won't believe what your life is going to look like.
mm, love that. Yeah. One of the things I always tell people is, you got to practice and is basically you want your past to be proud of its future.
Yeah.
Yeah, same concept. So thank you so much for really truly going. I think deeper than maybe you had intended, maybe deeper than what people come on the show thinking of what that's going to look like. But honestly, I mean, this is exactly why we do that because I don't know if I would have been able to tell your story better than you. There's no way for sure. And honestly, I mean, this has been a true blessing for me to have you come on here, but also just to again be part of my circle, be part of my network. In the short amount of time, and you're making really big waves. So I'm very proud of you. I'm proud to be a part of your circle and your friendship. And so it's again, like you said, you're limitless, and I know that people who are watching today, finally got an opportunity to kind of see what I've been working with, and who I've been associating with and stuff like that. So, in closing, was there anything else, any shout outs or anybody or anything that you would want to close on today?
Other than a big shout out to you, I definitely know that a lot of my anxiety about starting a business and becoming a business owner and jumping off the deep end, if you will. Actually, I feel like I just got pushed out of the COVID was like, and it's time to fly. Um, flap those wings, Lauren. But just your mentorship, your friendship, the tribe that you have been instrumental in building for this community has been astounding. It's amazing to find so many business owners that lift each other up and work together with each other for no other reason than because it's the right thing to do. Because that's what I would want somebody to do for me. I do it for them. We're all in this together. And it's been one of the most humbling experiences to be an active part of your tribe in general.
Well, the tribe is only as good as its people, for sure. And so it's small and steady growth versus the quick and chaotic side. And there's, I think there's pros and cons to both, but ultimately I just want to surround myself and be able to hang out with people that I like and care and trust, and be successful while we do it together, versus having to worry about trying to pull people up to where you are or them potentially pulling you down. So this definitely does not work without people like you in it. So thank you again for being a huge portion of our community, and really kind of an untapped gem that a lot of people maybe didn't know about. But I think that this is definitely going to help put you on the map, as you deserve, for sure. So guys, I can't thank you enough for tuning in. This has really been an incredible story worth telling today. Again, let me go ahead and just kind of pull up the information. So this is how you get a hold of Lauren. So facebook.com/clarity for your chaos. You've got her website, phone number, email. We'll make sure that we get these posted up in the comments as well. Also, hashtag clarity. I know that Bev has already kind of put that out there, but again, doesn't necessarily have to be for her utilizing her services. She's the type of person where she's willing to meet up and get to know you. And if you're looking to get into business, she's willing to help and give you advice. And again, she's recently been through that process, so it's really fresh versus maybe somebody who's been in business for years, or people are too busy and stuff like that. So she's willing to do that, and that's just the type of person she is. So make sure that you guys are getting in touch. She'll also touch base through those who are have commented directly on here.
Yeah. Let's get together at Decadent, shall we?
Yes, I love that. Shout out to Brittany Edwards, owner of Decadent Coffee and Dessert Bar. And yeah, so we're in a heavy promotion of trying to help Decadent as well, guys. So if you can, make sure that you're ordering desserts, getting coffee. We also had a challenge when she was live with us 2 weeks ago, or a week ago. I don't know, the days run in together, but whatever it is, I think that the first people who tag Main Street Insurance in there, we're gonna buy your coffee when you buy a dessert there. So definitely take advantage of that. And next week, guys, we are going to be live here with Jared Carlton, who's an amazing artist. You guys might have seen me post that on my personal page if you're there. He recently did a combination of two of my son's favorite characters. One is Wolverine, and the other one is Donatello from Ninja Turtles. And he actually did a mashup and drew them together. Very fierce, very intense. But Jared and I have known each other for a very long time, so we have him live next Wednesday, and then next Thursday we have an amazing chiropractor, Dr. Michael Schuneman from Life Symmetry Chiropractic. He's on a quest, and so we'll get a chance to kind of talk about his quest for greatness, and it's not necessarily always about money, but I mean, it's a big portion of it, but you guys will definitely see kind of what that looks like. So thank you again for tuning in to another Stories Worth Telling. Thank you, Lauren, for being on here. And guys, if you have any questions or concerns, certainly don't hesitate to post up in the comment section. We will also be dropping the link for the YouTube channel, so that way you guys have access to be able to rewatch this at any point in time. If you want to share it with your friends, definitely take advantage of that. And of course, we could use your support to be able to continue this. So hope you guys have a great week. Thank you so much. We'll talk with you later.
Thank you. Take care, guys. Stay well.